How's it going? Welcome to another episode of I Am Zain Film Class. I am your host, Zain. In today's episode, we're gonna be talking about how to frame your scene. We're gonna deep dive into guiding your audience's eyes to something extraordinary. Let's jump right in. Yeah! Tip number 1, mastering the rule of thirds is just the backbone of composition. Imagine your frame being divided into 9 equal parts with 2 horizontal and 2 vertical lines. Placing your subject along these lines or their intersection creates a balance and it draws the audience's attention naturally. Check out this still, for example. Notice how the protagonist's eyes are perfectly aligned to the top third. It creates an emotional connection. Challenge time. Pause this video and grab your camera or phone and try framing the subject using the rule of thirds. You can share your shots in the comments below. I'd love to see your work. Tip number 2, leading lines. These are visual elements in your scene, like a road, railing, or even shadows that guide your viewer's gaze toward the subject. Here's an example of some of my shots that I've done photography-wise and how I use the shadow to guide the viewer's attention to the subject. I shot this in Hoboken and there was like a nice little underpass, and the way the sun was hitting the tunnel, there was a lot of harsh light because we shot around like 12 o'clock and she was wearing like all black. It was a perfect contrast between what she was wearing and the shadow of like the tunnel. And something about black and white images and just leading lines just really captivates not just the audience but also my attention as well. Usually when I take pictures, I want to capture the moment so it's like a shared experience. That's the magic of framing with purpose. Try this. Create your own leading lines using everyday objects. Maybe it's your desk setup or a hallway. Tag me on social media with your results. Tip number 3, depth of field. By playing with focus, you can isolate your subject while adding layers to the story. Adding shallow depth of field like this draws all the attention to the details. Think of a visual whisper. It's subtle, but it's impactful. Here's a pro tip. Experiment with your lens aperture. Start from f2.8 or lower it for a dreamy, blurred background. What's your favorite lens for the depth of field? Write it down so that way when you're on the field, or maybe you're in New York City or Jersey for that matter, you can like just play around with it. You know, just see how you can isolate a subject or something that you want to showcase to the audience and really like zoom in on it and make sure the background is just blurred out completely. And that's what we call shallow depth of field. Tip number 4, avoid symmetry. While symmetry can work in specific contexts, like Wes Anderson in his films, breaking symmetry often creates a more dynamic and engaging composition. So uneven framing adds tension and creates some curiosity to your shot. As a filmmaker or photographer, make sure you challenge yourself to frame a scene that feels unbalanced yet visually intriguing and see if that works for you. I know you want to bring things in the middle, kind of like this video, but sometimes you just want to change things. I don't know. But you want to experiment with your photography. That way you could discover something different and be ahead of the trend instead of always being behind the trend. Framing your scene is more than just setting up the shot. It's about telling the story. So I hope these tips help you inspire and elevate your craft and thinking outside the frame. But before we go, I want to make sure I give a weekly shout out to today's spotlight. I want to shout out Artist at Camera. Her work is so dynamic and different. She's all the way out from Croatia and she creates some interesting fashion shots. She also does film as well. I'll link her information in the comments below so you can see her work, but she's really a dynamic photographer and filmmaker. I love her work. It's colorful and edgy and daring. It just makes you appreciate art. She also personally inspired me to be more natural with my photography and think less about the industry standards and go with what's inside opposed to letting society conform your style. And I wanted to give her a shout out. So definitely check out her work. I'll leave it in the comments below. Artist at Camera. Follow her on Instagram You can check out her website. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on an episode. So keep framing those scenes and creating magic, and I'll see you next week.